Well, today in our devotional time, we run into another man, another leader that encountered Jesus in the immediate run-up to the cross. His name was Herod. When Pilate in that trial scene heard that Jesus was from Galilee, and he knew that Herod was in town and that was his territory, he sends Jesus to Herod. We find these words recorded for us in Luke 23, beginning in verse 6. Here we find these words. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked if the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was in Jerusalem at that time. Now when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he had desired a long time to see him, because he'd heard many things about him, and he'd hoped to see some miracle done by him. Then he questioned him with many words, but he answered him nothing. Jesus did not respond to Herod with one single word. Well, you understand, Herod was wanting a show. He was wanting a parlor trick. He was wanting to be entertained by this supposed miracle worker, as he viewed him. Well, Jesus would have none of it, because the greatest miracle was going to happen in 3 days. In fact, in all likelihood, Herod was still in town to hear about it, and that was Jesus was going to come out of the grave, which indeed he did. And I suppose that even if Herod heard it, he still chose not to believe. Yes, indeed, some people are hard to convince. They just don't want to deal with the truth. Well, but have you noticed that this is true about Jesus? Even in our lives, there's some things about him that are rather frustrating. He doesn't always do what we want him to do. He doesn't always act in ways we expect him to act. He doesn't always fit into our agenda. Well, that just shows the relative relationships. He is the Lord, and we are his subjects. We are his followers. And let me just encourage you today to, as this day unfolds and as your life unfolds, surrender your will and your way to him. Just be happy and content with his agenda for you, whatever that means, knowing that ultimately when this day comes to a close, if you're one of his children, ultimately everything gets better. Focus on that. Don't let the events of this day or the disappointments of life keep you from enjoying the joy that God has packed into this day and will surely be yours throughout all the days of eternity.